Steve, I was going to ask how you're doing, and then you're going to say wonderful, and then you're going to be like, how are you? And I'm just, it's a family show, and I don't feel like swearing this early on into the podcast, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So that's where we're starting.
That's how we're starting. That's what we're getting at.
Okay.
Yeah, we're cutting the BS tonight. All right, folks. That's how we're diving into.
No excuses here, baby.
None. Oh boy, we can talk about that too. In fact, I think it's on the list of notes, you know. The name of this podcast is the Stuff Summer Says with
Steve
podcast. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for being here, showing up. Congratulations on your haircut. It looks great.
I'm glad you got home. Glad you got back from your trip.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for cutting that sentence short.
I didn't know where I was going to
go. Okay. Well, we're probably going to do 2 episodes this week. We have a guest. Want to make sure that guest shows up. Not that I don't think he won't, but I just want to make sure. So I don't want to tease it, but we'll probably do 2 episodes this week. This one is going to be a very lengthy conversation, mostly about one topic and one topic only. But we'll also hit on a little bit of men's hockey stuff because I think that was important because it was a big weekend.
Jeez, what topic does that leave left?
I think it's Rick Neuheisel. That's what we're gonna. That's on
luckily,
the list,
we'll get there, but luckily that got shortchanged by what I'm sure you want to talk about. So,
okay, here we go. Where to begin? I think we begin here. We have done 200 some episodes of this podcast, much of which started in the 2020 football season, which includes and encompasses all of half of James Franklin's career at Penn State. I think we, over the course of that podcast, over the course of our relationship, our friendship, have become a beacon, a safe haven for a very liberal stance on James Franklin and his coaching and the decisions he's made and the things that he's done. I think we have given him plenty of chances, plenty of opportunities, plenty of moments to say, you screwed up here, but we're okay with that. And I know that I have confidently hit my breaking point.
Okay.
It's time to have the discussion. It is time to no longer kick the can down the road. It is time to have the discussion that, to the point which when I wrote the article this weekend, several people, that some of which I was surprised that either reached out or had heard of, that had thoughts on it, were like, even James Franklin broke Darian, so it must be bad. I think we have to begin with the fact that, as I said this week, and that there was an unspoken pact that we have talked about on this podcast. How many times have you said James Franklin is paid to win 2 games this season? You know, and how many times have we said we are okay with next year or the next opportunity, the next chance at the big game, as long as in that pact we are in agreement, unspoken, that you don't lose to an 0-4 football team with an interim head coach, a sunshine-looking offensive coordinator that said he didn't even know how to use the microphones, the comm system to the players. And I think it's one thing to go and lose to Oregon. We talked about that, and we said that if there was going to be a come to Jesus conversation, if they would lose to UCLA somehow, did not think from the time that I stepped on a plane to go to Los Angeles until the time that I watched Nico Amivale, hopefully I didn't butcher that too much, march down the field, thought they were going to win the football game. And I knew that they had lost the football game the second they didn't recover the onside kick. And I think that brings us to the point that James Franklin gets paid.
Wait.
What?
The second they didn't recover the onside kick?
Yeah, didn't feel good about it.
So you had snowballs then?
Yes.
Okay, just checking.
That's
early.
It's early. You pay James Franklin $8 million a year. And we'll get the financials of all of this here in a bit. and you lose to that, and you clamor that there were depth issues. There was the travel issue, which we'll get into. I think is a poor excuse. All of these things that you failed, and I think that is where I'm at with it right now. I don't. We will have what I want to have in this conversation, I guess, is what the exit plan could look like. Some other thoughts about the future that I have, but the floor is now yours.
Wow, you're all the way on the exit plan. There's like no hope for them to run the table in your world.
Can we?
Look, I mean, I don't know why there would be, but I'm just asking.
Give me your thoughts, because I have a point. I want to get there.
You're gonna shoot down everything I have, right?
No,
I the onside kick. I didn't know that I had snowballs then. Well, let me go back. I think it was 3 games. I think he's paid to win 3 games. That was Michigan, Michigan State, and Ohio State when we first started. Like, had to win those 3 games every year. So it's 3. If it's an unspoken pact, perhaps we should have outlined that we had higher expectations than losing the 0-4 team in the pact. Maybe we should have made it a spoken pact so that was clear. Even though it was clear to everybody who was watching that was a Penn State fan. Yeah, and I don't know that I knew when I saw the onside kick, I didn't think snowballs. In fact, I almost thought it was going to go the other way late and texted you and Russ that it was going to go the other way late. But when I saw that, I thought, oh, that's just not good. Like that's the discussion the past couple of days with people that I've listened to and taken apart in some is, what do casual fans really know about football? And we talked about that through the years, X's and O's and what can you really know. I think casual fans can see, I do think they can see preparation to an extent, and I certainly believe they can see effort. And I think that play spoke to preparation just from the cliched, low-level expertise, uninformed spouting off of people saying, well, team's 0-4, they're going to try anything. You should be ready for it. That's not wrong. And they perhaps should have been ready for it. All the way to the punt at the end, right? And Coach Franklin today said, well, there was a discussion on the headset about whether or not to rush the punter more. You think there was a discussion? Like the odds of them returning the punt for 60 or 70 yards are no worse than the odds of the ball going for 60 or 70 yards on a punt if nobody's back there. You've already blocked one punt. Rush the punter, right? Even if they're going to step out for the safety, if you rush them, it hurries up their process and maybe it doesn't get something off. So that to the other end in terms of preparation was like, well, why would there be a discussion? Like, why, I mean, of all the stuff broadcast-wise that Gary Danielson was on, he was on that. Like when he first said it, I'm like, oh yeah, look at Gary. Like he's had his moments where maybe I don't think he's super on it, but this one he's right. So yes, I can see how it's disheartening, and I am curious about your exit plan because you're not even holding out. You have blown out the candle of hope and said there's no way they can get to 10-2.
I haven't said that. Did I say that?
Okay.
Did I?
It sounded like it. If you're making an exit plan, I don't know.
I think over the course of this podcast, we've also brought an ounce of optimism. It's very hard to find right now, and I don't know that there's even a full ounce of it. I think Sunday was interesting because
wait, before you get to Sunday, what was the mood in the stadium like? You were there at Penn State fans. Okay. What was the mood there?
I guess let's back up through it chronologically, right? Like they're down 27-7 at halftime, and there was a part of me that then at halftime thought, and to Franklin's credit, they've pretty much always made decent adjustments to put them back into a game at halftime. That was the theme of the 2016 season. It's the theme of a lot of other seasons where they made adjustments at halftime to put them back into games. I've watched them come back on the road. I think in the stadium then it was like, this is happening. Like this is like this feels like the beginning of the end. Like it as much as the Oregon game could have potentially felt like the beginning of the end, and we talked about that, like either direction, this actually felt like the beginning of the end. And they're coming back, and it was to your point about preparation, and to your point about coaching, and to your point about just not being ready for it. Every play on defense, the line's getting pushed back 2 yards, 3 yards. Like every run that UCLA was ripping off, going for 2, 3, 4, 5 yards. I mean, yes, there were holdings that were very clearly missed, and I think that's, if you're looking for any excuse, there were some big plays that turned on some plays that I would have like to have seen a holding call on. But at the end of the day, the officials are a part of the game, and you have to overcome all of that. And they could not buy a stop. They could not get a stop. The only reason they got a stop late in the game was because the guy tripped and fell. And I think, to me, and then you go look at, and I love Dom DeLuca. Like, I think he's a great Rudy-like character for Penn State football. But you go look at what he did, like his performance, and you think to yourself, if we take the Drew Aller, Sean Clifford debate of, well, James Franklin sees this guy in practice every game, or every day, so of course he's going to pick Sean Clifford because he's better in practice. You're telling me that of all of the linebackers that traveled alongside, that Dom DeLuca is the second best behind Amari Campbell? And that to me just kind of speaks to the preparation, frustration, confusion that I think situation offered. So they come back, and I think what's fascinatingly frustrating is I think that was actually Drew Aller's best game of the season. Maybe not his absolute best. I think the other game, the first game of the season, was probably by far his best. But they come back, he's playing well, and then they start making confusing decisions. I didn't have much of a gripe with the half, the way the half ended, because I understood the logic of like trying to run the timeout, especially when the defense could not buy a stop. I did understand that. And I think some of that was just expecting his players to make plays, and they kind of, they'd only touched the ball once before that, or twice before that, so like they kind of sort of were. But at the same time, like, as they're coming back and the offense is doing what it's doing, I think UCLA's defense is not that good. I don't think that's what won them the game on Saturday by any means. As they come back, they're going through, they're playing better, but it's still all of these little decisions, all of these little moments. In the 4th and 2 now goes up there with 4th and 5 for me, of frustrating play calls in Penn State history, when you could see it that they knew that Trevor Pena was coming across on that play. You could see it anytime they motioned him, they brought 2 guys directly to him. And I think Luke Reynolds misses a block, and it's the things like that to take the ball out of supposedly the best quarterback in Penn State football history's hands. It's all of those little things that have finally just kind of boiled up to get us to where we are.
Okay. Yeah, that play call, that play call was befuddling, because I don't know what it gets you, even if it works. If the call was to let the quarterback run, that just doesn't make sense. DeLuca, I'm curious, and I don't want to get too distracted. Does it speak to the bigger fear of making mistakes in games and trusting a proven commodity? Right? I mean, you know what you got there as opposed to the others. So maybe that's part of it. And DeLuca has his own commercial, as I saw in Northeastern and Central Pennsylvania, with a law firm. So good for him. Yeah, I understand the frustration, appreciate the frustration. It's fun. It was fun to watch it with people who were more. I'm always watching it with people who are more impassioned and engaged with than me, right? So it's kind of fun to watch them and see what they're freaking out about, or as it's over, to listen to what people are freaking about. And I've seen a couple of national people talk about, oh, no, Aller wasn't that bad. The play calls aren't his. The accuracy is his, right? And there was still an issue at time for that. And especially the last little drive, you can't throw the ball out of bounds. You cannot throw the ball out of bounds high where no one can catch it, because you need to move the ball and you need a completion. Even if you throw an interception, and again, maybe we're a little jittery because that's happened twice on a big stage, you need to put the ball in play.
Yeah. Right?
So there's those kind of things for me that still haven't gotten me over the hump with him to utter the words best quarterback in Penn State history, no matter what the numbers say.
Right. No, and I agree with that, because I don't think he is. That's what he's been purported to us as. I think.
So when the game ended, how were the people around you?
I was going to say, I think that was one of the weirder atmospheres, because there were, as I texted you, I mean, there was I want to say a 30% Penn State contingency there. Mm-hmm. Like, it was a very large Penn State crowd, and it was weird. It was semi reminiscent of the time that Franklin got booed off the field at Maryland, probably about 3 seasons ago. And I think everybody was just kind of stunned. Like, I think as everybody else, everybody everybody involved is just so stunned, and I think that's coming through in James Franklin right now too. Like, I don't think his press conference was bizarre today. Like, he just, I think Audrey put it as it seemed like he was on trial or was in court, testifying in court, and with how he answered things, and I kind of agree with that. I think, and I think it was interesting to watch, myself included in this, people that have been on quote unquote our side of the James Franklin debate within an hour go from one side to the other. I mean,
an hour of the game or an hour of the press conference?
Hour of the game.
Okay,
like, I mean, maybe even in game, maybe even the second the clock hit zero. I mean, I don't think there's a single beat reporter that right now thinks that he should be the head coach next year. I don't know that there is, based on all of the stuff that I've read. I can't find one that's overly optimistic about the future of him coaching.
So, do they? Is it their job to think that, or is it their job to? Like, I feel that too. Like, I feel that from the stuff I've consumed. It's interesting to me. I write by usually last night, but by noon on Mondays, I have to file this thing I have to have for the Altoona Mirror on Fridays, right? So I don't know if what I have to write every week is going to age well or not. And this week it was about dropping out of the top 25, and the media now has something they're piling on, and there's a storyline. But be careful with that, right? So it doesn't become, I mean, it did sound, I don't think it sounded like a defense of Franklin, but that's the easy storyline right now, right? And I'm not saying that they're not, they could lose this weekend and next weekend. It could go totally south. We've seen it in 99. We've seen it other times. And I'm not saying the media shouldn't do that, but it does feel like there's a clear tone, right? There's a clear, not agenda, but there's a tone. There's an acknowledged storyline. And I think the media are there to convey a storyline, not to create it. And especially in this instance, they aren't going to be the ones who decide, right? It's going to be the people with money, the people who may or may not buy suites. And it could be that Joe and Jane fan, if they decide to, as we talked before, to vote with their feet. And the more I thought about it, it's not give up your tickets. It's not go. But what if there was people said, okay, yeah, we're ticked. We're just not going to show up for the first quarter. We're going to be there. We're not going to show up I don't think there's going to be that big enough of a groundswell of a unified anything ever. But that's where Joe and Jane fan could make a statement. But right now, the people that are going to make that decision are the sponsors and the people who have money with suite sales who say, well, I'm not going to renew. Or, hey, I've given you some money, but good luck getting the rest of it, right? I know we got a contract, but good luck getting the rest of that. Do you want to sue me for it? And I don't think it's that bad, but I mean, no, but that's where it happens, right? It doesn't happen with the media saying he's got to go. I mean, I think they're stating the obvious, right? The obvious in general, but there are so many layers to this thing, from the money to the whatever else, which maybe you're getting us there. So I'll stop.
No. I think let's. I want to stay on this media point, but I want to. You hit on several things that I want to also discuss on right there. I feel like I understand what you're saying, and I think because in this day and age, the way we expect journalism to be done, we don't have it's not like there's a sports columnist at the CDT and a beat writer.
Right. And there's not a second side to this.
Right. Like there's only one person, and I think some of that's quite literally just because of the way that the industry has gone, that there's only one person for every single, for more or less for most of these outlets. I think maybe, you look at On3 or 247 and they've got a bigger staff, right? But I think that the way I've seen most people acknowledge how fans are feeling, I think the media has to do their job, but they need to do it through a rational lens. I think that is the difference between a hot take artist or somebody that's on Twitter and me paying for any of the subscriptions that I pay for, right? And I think what those people's jobs are to do aren't necessarily to tell you how to think, but maybe tell you why to think that and why they think that. And I think that's what came through and what came out of this weekend. And I think that was in part kind of what's been so stunning about it is like every single beat writer has. I mean, I think maybe Corey Geiger might have been the only beat writer that I could think of to more so outwardly call for a firing of James Franklin before this season. And I think we had Geiger on the show and he talked about his perspective on all of that. But I think what they are doing is acknowledging that this is a bad situation that Penn State is in for everyone. James Franklin, it's bad for him. It's bad for the fans. It's bad for the players. Bad for the university. And I think that that's important. And I think that's an interesting part of it. I want to get to something you said about voting with your feet because that's on here, and I also want to talk about the financial aspect of this.
Okay, good.
I had an idea, and I think it's a petty, slightly dumb, lame idea, but it's like Penn State. I agree with you. Penn State fans are always going to show up. Like you go look at how the attendance through the dark years. You go look at the attendance after the scandal. There's still consistently, almost always, at least 100,000 people, if not more, inside that stadium. And I think Saturday's environment is going to be probably the ugliest environment we've ever seen inside Beaver Stadium just because of the animosity that's in the air right now. I want to make sure we discuss that as well. But I feel like people are still going to show up. It's homecoming. It's a game where people that don't usually come to games come to the game because it is homecoming. I don't think homecoming quite means what it means at Penn State as it does to some other universities, though. I think, as we talked about, the whiteout has replaced that. But of the 7 home games that you get season tickets to or have each season, Penn State is requiring you to wear something or asking you to wear something 3 times. All they've done is ask with money, with logos, with parking, with all of these things. And what has it yielded? And I don't know that Penn State's in a better situation, but like Penn State football is in a better situation, but at the same time, what has it really yielded to me? And it's like, why not just like not wear the color that you're supposed to wear to stripe out? I know that's like a cheesy, lame idea because I think, and we can talk about the finances of it. I just think that like being short-sighted and not spending is kind of weird because it's a short-sighted approach. And there was a post I saw over the weekend about the cost of the buyout. I want to get to that. Someone said that it's not their money. It's not their money. Well, it is. I really believe that it will trickle down to me and Joe the fan and Bill and Linda, age 72, 74 of York. Thoughts?
It may. I think there are probably ways that it doesn't have to be as big a number. I mean, the athletic department just a couple of years ago borrowed money from the university and paid it back, right? So you borrow $50 million, you pay back $10 million a year over the next 5 years, and it's only $10 million a year, right? It doesn't have to be a big number. It can be something negotiated in terms of a departure if they go down that road. Like it doesn't have to be the huge number it is. It just that's the easy number to see. And again, that's the stuff we won't know. The color thing is interesting. Any of those things I think are interesting for Joe and Jane Fan or Bill and Linda or whoever they are. But with 100,000 people, it's hard to unify them under any one thing or inform them around any one thing, except we're losing, we're going to boo, right?
Right.
And that's okay. I mean, that's a way to be heard. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, right? Because then there's all these people, oh, well, who are you booing? How do we know you're booing this person? How do you know you're booing the player? You booing the program, you booing the players. I think for the money you're paying now and the money they're making now, you've got the right to boo whomever you would like, right? And as long as you're not using big expletives, woo, I won't be using those words, and calling them names, like, I think you're okay. Yeah, I think how it plays out from the general fan, because you can't say I'm giving up my tickets. Schedule next year's not great. Going to give up my tickets, and you can't get back in line then, right? Yeah. You've lost your spot for the season. So you're kind of sort of held hostage in a sense. You're not, but you are. And we won't know. I mean, unless somebody's connected in the media, and I don't know who that is, until it's somebody nationally that it breaks 3 weeks before something happens or 3 days before something happens, that they have something that people who are generally covering it don't, about by financials or about something else, but they get that because somebody wants them to have that. somebody wants them to know what's going to happen in terms of that process. So, no, I'm there for the people who want to have a say and be seen as general fans, whether it's a visual thing, whether it's something they share. The scary part is it's just how uninformed listening to local radio and national stuff and looking. I mean, I don't do message boards, so I'm not on those sites, but how uninformed people are, right? Well, I heard this. If he doesn't win if he doesn't win a conference championship this year, he said he was going to retire. I have, sorry, been kind of paying attention, never heard that, right?
Right.
But the three guys at the Moose with this guy all believe that because they were sitting with him around the bar and that's what they talked about, right? And that's happening in places all over the state and wherever else. It's tough for the program when you've got all the kind of national attention from whether it's from Pardon the Interruption or Stephen A. Smith or in addition to the fine bombs and whatever else you're going to get in a week like this. And I think for me, and I'll be done now for a little bit, I think the most interesting thing for me out of Coach Franklin's news conference in relation to that today was, hey, twice I think he said, we got to ignore the noise. That feels disingenuous to me because I think the person with the biggest rabbit ears to noise is him, right? I think from a PR standpoint, it'd be better instead of grading the question, hey, that's a fair question, I get it. Just answer the question.
Yeah.
Or don't answer the question. You don't have to answer the question they asked. You can answer the question you want to answer to, right? They ask this and you go off on something else and don't play the I know, you know that I have to answer this voodoo. Just answer the question and give your nobody wants to hear about the positive stuff. Well, then just say the positive stuff. You know, it was a tough loss. It was my fault. Take responsibility. Know you're getting tired of hearing that. We got to fix it. But we've won 90% of our games the past 2 years. I think I got the recipe. We just got to figure out what's going on right now. Boom, right? And stop looking for it to nuance your answer. It seems like he's very concerned about what people think of him, which he should. I understand,
yeah, sure.
right? But it seems like it would be easier on himself if he would do that and somehow find a way to shut out the noise because he hears it more than anyone, it feels like.
Listen, I get that. I embrace that. I
welcome the question.
I welcome the question. I understand you have a job to do. I agree with you. I didn't like that part. I didn't like, honestly, I struggled with the we've done this over 12 years thing in a way because this year was so much about the now. And
right.
I think that's a big part of it. Okay. So let's get to let's try to land this plane, shall we? The exit plane.
Yep, and then that's going to lead us into the old guy, young guy too. You were going plane theme now. Yeah. Look at this. Here we go.
Well, we can also stop it off at Penn State men's hockey.
You must stop in Arizona.
Yeah, they took a plane.
Layover in
yeah,
Phoenix.
There we go. I think the way that I was curious how this is all going to play out is we have this not wild card, but we have this extra card, interesting card that is Pat Kraft and how like audacious he is, how brash he is, how aggressive he is, how he made this whole year about winning 4 national championships. That was kind of the drum beat to the year, to the season, to and it's kind of sort of falling apart like a rocket from SpaceX.
There goes a sponsorship.
That's okay. We didn't want that one anyways. And I was really curious how this was all going to play out. And I do think we are in a new era of money with Penn State based on what I've seen, read, heard, talked to people in terms of how Penn State gets money and who's donating. And I do think it is a younger part of money. And I do think it's going to be now maybe more than ever a little bit, we want to like pick a side or make political positions. It's more pro Franklin than it is pro Paterno these days. I really kind of started to believe that we are getting quote unquote new money into the system. But I was like, what does this cost? What is this going to cost? And why did Pat Kraft not pull the trigger? Right. And I think there's a lot of financials to look at this. And I think there's 3 ways out of this. I think the first 2 involve James Franklin getting fired at some point. And I'll save the last one for the end. Which the first one is you fire him now. And that creates a hold on, let me make sure I get these numbers right.
In the middle of the season. Okay, just making sure I'm hearing.
I thought Saturday was so wild, so insane, so unexpected that it was not a thought, right? Like it was not a thought, just with who Pat Kraft is. That would cost Penn State $56 million to buy out James Franklin's contract as we sit here today. If they wait till after the season, that's $49 million. So I was like, oh, okay.
That's after January 1st, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's after January 1st. Okay. And I was like, okay. But that didn't like sit right with me because I thought about this a little bit longer. And I think when you have to, you don't just have to pay the cost of James Franklin leaving. You've also got to pay the cost of buyouts for assistant coaches, OCs, DCs. You've got to pay for all these other things. And so I'm going to have an article probably tomorrow about this.
New coaches buyout.
Of what the cost would actually be. And I'm going to explain some of my methodology. So we've got the let me get you.
You're showing us the math beforehand?
Yes, I'm going to show you the math now. You've got the couple $1 million over the next, $49 million over the next few years, $50 million over the next years for Franklin's buyout. You're going to have to pay Kotelnicki, who's on a 5-year deal, $5.7 million. I'm going to assume that Knowles is gone too, and you're going to have to pay him a buyout. So that's $6.2 million over the next 2 years. Penn State, I'm considering this part of James Franklin's salary because he made this decision. Penn State paid $905, $480 in buyouts.
$5,000.
$5,000 last year.
Yeah.
In buyouts.
Okay.
I think that's Yursic's buyout in terms of that was earmarked. And when you go through the numbers, I think that's Yursic's. So we're going to add that number. So you got another 1.8 million there. Then I thought, well, Penn State's probably either not going to make a bowl if they fire him now, or they're not at worst not going to host a college football playoff game, which is they get all of the revenue for tickets, parking and concessions. Did some math there. Penn State made about $2.1 million per game per game last season in those numbers in 2023, 2024. I added up, did a little bit of rounding, but also subtracted some other costs because we've got other concessions from Pagola, BJC, etc. 1.8 million over the next 2 years because you're not going to make the playoff this year and you're not going to make the playoff next year. 3.6 million total. You're doing the math at home. And then you have to pay the coach. And we're going to go 9 million because it's Pat Kraft and he likes to spend money. A $9 million contract until 2031. We're doing this money in, money out. So we're going to have an OC that makes 1.7 million for the next 3 years to match the time, the unexpected expenses of paying over the over the Kotelnicki buyout, and then 1.7 million for the DC over the next 2 years. That gives us a total of, are you ready? You want to guess? You want to do this prices right style?
126.4.
Ooh, pretty close. I would give you you get the bone. You get both packages on that one.
Okay, there you go.
I had $127,860,960. No cents in there because we didn't add in the cents. But I think that's what it's going to cost either now or tomorrow. Fire James Franklin. And I just at that point brings me how I want to land this plane on our layover to Arizona, saying I don't think James Franklin is going to get fired. I kind of think he's too competitive to want to leave on his own, even if he's not really enjoying this right now, based off of the vibes that we're getting from him. And I think he's going to coach. I think he's going to be the coach of Penn State football next year. I really do.
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I don't think I wouldn't be shocked if there was a move at the end of the season. I don't think it's happening in the middle of the season unless, man, something goes really south in the next few weeks, 3 weeks, right? Because, I mean,
who knows?
I mean, once you get past Ohio State, you've only got, 3 weeks left in the season. You play out the string, if that's whatever. It depends on how much he's enjoying it or not, right? Like how much he's really, today he looked miserable, right? Today he looked, and he talked last week about getting cut-ups and samples from his PR staff about how coaches deal with things. And he made reference about, well, I don't think that would play well here and that, whatever. So people are certainly in his ear. and certainly not listening to us. And I know what you get for advice from me in terms of the free podcast guy, in terms of saying, not saying don't grade the questions. Don't grade the questions. Just answer the questions, right? Find a way to not listen to the criticism. If you're going to tell people to turn the noise off, don't hear it yourself. I heard somebody on one of the local radio stations today complaining, oh, he did the whole 1-0 thing. We need everyone beat Northwestern. That's crazy. That's your process. That's what they do. If they were to not do that, that would be panic to me. Like if that would be a big change of pace. Like that would be a mistake. If what you've done for the past 12 years is what you do, then do it. And what he's done for the last 12 years is listen to the noise, right? So that's not going to change. So it wouldn't shock me either way. I think at 124, whatever the number is, divide that by 5 or 7, right? That may be a lump sum initially, but that's not the way you're going to pay it out, right?
Right.
You're gonna have a credit card from somewhere that does that. And I sincerely hope, and I guess I would believe that they're doing this. If not, it's dereliction of duty, or they're just not qualified. Somebody should have been doing this math the past 24 hours, whose job it really is, right? To be saying, okay, if this, then what? If that, then this, right? And if they're not doing those things, then shame on them. Maybe they aren't doing it because Pat is like, no, we are not changing. This is our guy. This is what's going on. I think where I'm at is maybe less out the door than you are, but I do believe we know where the ceiling is, right? And we know how much that costs. We've seen it. The 4-28 against, or 4-21 against, the 1-18 against teams in the Big Ten that are top 10. You're just probably more likely than not going to win those games. It just hasn't been proven over a decade plus, right? But you're not going to save money by making a change. It's going to cost you money. And there's going to be pain in the short term. There's going to be players transfer. But again, next year, nobody thought they were going to be good. I mean, realistically, they've invested so much in this year. You're expecting players to leave. Next year's not good, but you need to be good. Well, the common perception among the people who are just Joe Schmoes was be good, or Jane Schmoes. Be good going into the new place. 2027, when it's open and it's fully operational in the stadiums, you want to have a good product in there.
Yeah.
But the nuance of that is people are showing up no matter what.
Yeah.
Like, so it is who's going to pay for suites, who's going to pay for, of the things that don't change. It was kind of like men's basketball for years. Well, we need a better coach. We need to pay for more coach. We got to find a way to put in seats because the TV money doesn't change. You got to get people in the seats. Here, this is more about the bigger fish, I think, in terms of who's going to buy stuff. Because even if 4,000 people don't renew season tickets, somebody who's been on that waiting list is going to say, "Oh, what the hell?"
100%.
Right? Like, so they're not losing that money. It's the bigger money, and it's the relationships that maybe could not be as fruitful as they'd like. And honestly, do I think they're going to win out? No, I think they're losing at Ohio State, and I think Saturday's game puts more doubt on Iowa, although, gosh, they're so much better than Iowa, and puts some doubt on Indiana, and I think they're better than Indiana. But you just don't know.
Yeah. No, and that's why you play the football games. I think I just hope that this decision from Pat Kraft, whatever it is, whichever way it is made with a little bit of clarity, a little bit of believability, trustworthiness. Because I think this is I've said that the stadium is his legacy, right? Like, he was the one that pushed through the $700 million stadium. But
no, this decision now gets to
this is it. Like, it's,
or not, the decision either way gets to be the
right.
Gets to be the
and
thing.
I think you have to. I think that's why, like, yes, like, it would have been interesting. The whatever in me would have enjoyed the chaos that came from Franklin getting fired on Sunday morning. I would have loved. I think it would have been absolutely ironic if he would have been tied with Rip Engel all time, in all-time wins, right? But at the same time, and I guess he gets to lose to Northwestern, and Lord knows really what happens. I think this is just a really fascinating. That was why I literally sat down. I was like, I want to try to pick a piece of this logic of, like, why you don't do this now. And I think this is it. I think that's why I think there's really two. I think more likely Franklin says, I'm good. I'm done. I'll pay the cost of whatever. It's like $6 million. I don't know that the guy spends his money. He doesn't wear the big watch. I don't think he buys a lot of sneakers. I'm not sure what his.
He shouldn't have to buy sneakers. They're giving them.
That's true. He has a Nike contract. Pretty soon an Adidas contract. And I think I really genuinely think that overall, like as a lot of people talked about, James Franklin has been largely good for Penn State football. He took it from Bill O'Brien, who did a great job, to James Franklin, who really did put the team quite literally in a much better position than they could have ever been in after the scandal. And I think we just kind of, to your point earlier, it's got stale, it's gotten tired, and it's gotten stuck. There's a cap to it, and I think that's kind of part of why I'm like, if he gets fired, I can understand.
Okay, so before we get to Phoenix, I got two topics and questions. You mentioned an air of animosity in the stadium Saturday. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that people are going to be grumpy there. So I'm going to go back to a drum that I have pounded repeatedly and always. Had he or his family done anything different in the community, would that have gained them any goodwill in a situation like this? I have been
thinking about this so much. If you're listening, I just gestured very dramatically. I've been thinking about this, and I struggle with that. And I think that is part of this. I do think that is legitimately part of this. Obviously, the Paternos were here. I guess I don't know when the library opened, but I don't think it was. I think it was the library happened. The naming of the library happened after Paterno's 12th year. Pretty confident.
Yeah, well after that. Yeah,
you can probably fact check.
Yep, well after that. Yep.
I think there's a line in the either his coaching bio or in the game notes that he like donated some money to the Children's Hospital once, and that's about it. And I think that's a very legitimate grumble based on stories that we've heard, not that I do trust from direct sources that it's happened to just a lot of things. And I think some of that was a rock and a hard place too, right? Like he came in. Was he the one that said Paterno people? I forget. Might have been Bill.
It was OB.
But he came in still in that era of like people were holding on to the fading memory of Joe. And I really do believe that he's been the coach for 12 years. For a 12-year-old that is a Penn State fan right now, they've only ever known James Franklin. They will this is the only area they've known. All of the kids that are in college in the student section have pretty much only ever known James Franklin as the head coach, not Joe Paterno. And I do think he's done so much goodwill that way, but I don't think that he has. I think what you are getting at is a legitimate thing that. And I don't live in the Center County community, but I know that I hear from people all the time, and I know you've alluded to it, and that's probably why you asked it. So I think that's tough and frustrating. Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm gonna stay with coaches in the last thing. You only heard about it, you didn't see it, but the Neuheisel situation. What did you hear?
I heard from one viewer of Penn State football, located in Juniata, which is a subsection of Altoona, Pennsylvania, that she was quite fired up and didn't like that part of the game.
I think she was not alone.
I don't think she was alone. I'll let you deal with this.
Right. Well, no, I think she was not alone. I think the loss certainly made that a secondary or third story. But I think it was the right move by CBS. I mean, there's a line, and they probably went over it, but they have the father of the guy on their payroll in their studio with the camera. Right? It was, here's a coach who doesn't know how to work the headsets. We found out afterward. He's been on the job 2 days, and he's helping win a game against supposedly one of the top 10 teams in the country. You know, good stories are about people. Good TVs are about good TVs about images. Yes, I think there were more Penn State people watching that broadcast than there were UCLA people, probably by a 3-1 margin, easily, right? So I'm sure people were ticked. But in terms of, so maybe CBS loses points for not being self-aware of that. But in terms of production, I was thinking NASCAR. I was thinking Ned Jarrett and Dale Jarrett, years ago winning the Daytona 500, right? So it was right. It was probably over the line, but to his credit, Neuheisel apologized. Like afterward, he's like, hey, on social media and some other things said, Yeah, but I guess if everybody maybe a little too much, but if it was your kid, maybe you'd have been that way too. And I'm sorry to some of the Penn State people who might. So at least he did that. And on his Sirius XM show this morning, Chris Childers, the co-host, kept wanting to go back there, and he's like, "Hey, we've done this. Like we did this in the first hour. Like maybe we should talk about some other stuff." So I think whether he's hurt or whatever else, but yeah, as I was watching, I'm like, man, they got to put that inset box in there again.
People were very effective about that.
I'm sure they were.
I will not
and
rewatch
and
that.
rightfully so, because again, 75% of people watching were Penn State
No,
fans, right?
That's fair.
So CBS should have.
Yeah. Gonna plead the fifth on that, but also say that I agree. Okay. Do you wanna?
Did you listen to the hockey games? How did you consume the hockey
just
games at
Twitter,
all?
just Twitter, because we were
Okay.
out on the West Coast. I had a weird dinner reservation at an LA place that we were supposed to get seated at 7:00. Didn't get seated till 7:45. Did not.
But it was worth it.
It was very good. It was the table was very short. The table was quite short. Like literally, like only came up to about my knees. So and it was pasta. So you had to bend over. So it was a little posh for someone that spent most of his childhood in Altoona bars. So the thing that I was going to say is I did not consume it, but I don't think I've ever seen ever in 30 years of being a hockey fan, ever seen the NHL, the way it broadcast the game, the way it made social media posts, do all of these things, talk about a college hockey player, and that is exactly why you went and did this earlier and get him. I think we are at a cornerstone moment. I'm seeing college football writers or national college writers that don't cover college hockey talk about it, write about it. Seeing Canada talk about it. I think that was a cornerstone moment. I thought that it was cool to see, the reception to it. I thought the video of him doing the forks down thing is like, oh, we're gonna have a personality with this. And I think there was somebody that was like, this beats driving on an 8-hour bus to go beat a team 8-2. Like this is I understand why you would go do this. And I think there's always been this eternal battle of CHL versus NCAA in the hockey world, and I think it pretty much kind of feels not over, but it feels like the pendulum has really swung to the NCAA direction.
Yeah, and he's not the only one, but he's the one that got all the attention, right? I mean, it was good with the NHL Network, the NHL on YouTube stuff, the between period stuff, and I think it's good for the team. I mean, I think there's some players in that team. Well, I know there's some players in that team who are like, okay, glad he's here. We're happy to compete too, right? And there's going to be a lot more scouts' eyes in the games now in person than there ever were before, so it can't hurt. I mean, I find it hard to believe that I don't think there's any bad part about it, bad blood kind of thing, but I'm sure Charlie Serrato was quite happy to have the first game that he had, right? And Matt DeMarco was quite happy to do the hat trick that he got amidst what was going on. They got the win. They're happy. Gavin's there. They're happy. It's happening. But there's a lot of guys that know how to play hockey on that team too, and I think it's going to be good for them as well.
I think that was what was kind of cool about it, was like the fact that he didn't score on opening night, right? Like because everybody was expecting him to do that. And I think he had 2 assists in the first game, and then of course he had the goal in the second game. But like I think what was cool about it was like we've always talked about this about Guy Godowski teams, is it's always been about the team. Like it's always been about team, underline, capitalize, whatever. I thought it was cool to see those guys, particularly Charlie Serrato, Matt DeMarco, like have big moments, big games, and kind of do something that I don't want to say upstaged it, but like
no, he wasn't coming in. He's so much better than there. Like,
it was just like it didn't steal it from it, but it just was like yes, like they always say, hockey's the ultimate team sport, and I think it was cool. Yeah.
They did a good job with it.
Okay.
So were you talking to people on the plane on the way home?
No, I wanted to ask about this. Old guy, young guy this week. She seemed very nice. There was a woman that sat behind us on the flight home. Now, our flight was at 5 a.m. Pacific time, which is a little rough, but not too rough because our bodies still felt like it was 6 a.m. When we got to the airport or got up at 3 a.m. That being said, I had headphones on. I was writing, listening to the football game that was on. and I had most of it tuned out, but occasionally, adjust the headphone. She was just kind of talking to this stranger the whole flight, the whole 5-hour flight. And I want to know, like, do you talk to people? Because I've never, we are.
I thought you were going to say she was behind you talking to you, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's pretty, that's aggressive.
But we are, like, I am. My little seat is my little bubble, and nothing can get popped it, Or do you talk to people?
I like my little bubble generally, and I prefer to talk usually. And I'm usually the danger bubble, right? Because if Susan and I travel together and we take 3 seats, I'll take the middle seat, right? Pick your window, pick your aisle. I'll take the middle seat and whatever. So I am probably most at risk of talking to people, but least approachable. Like if people are looking at me, there's like no way. Like he does not have an approachable. I don't know. Like, but that said, I don't know. Like I guess a couple times. I guess if I'm remembering ones from 30 years ago, then no, I probably don't talk a lot. Right? Like there was a plane going to a Syracuse football game when I was covering Pitt, so 30 years ago. And the plane is going through turbulence, and we're getting ready to land in Syracuse, and it was really freaky. And then as this was happening, and I looked at the woman to my right, I'm like, so how are you? She's like, oh, I'm a flight attendant. This is going to be fine. Right? And I was like, okay. And then it got a little worried. And so we talked a little more about what she did because we went down and went back up and circled back and came down and give it another shot.
Yeah.
But generally, no. Like, I mean, I'll be like, hello, hi, how are you? But sometimes people self-select for you, right? Like the earbuds are in and it's over, right? And I know enough not to bug. Like, I'm not going to, yeah. Right. So generally, no. Okay. I mean, but if someone else if hi, how are you starts leading to something, I'll play along for a while.
She played along for a 4-hour flight. Did not know.
Did you see the person she was talking to? Like, what was the
that was interesting. She seemed to be I'm trying to think. She seemed to be of the I have multiple degrees category, and I do believe I overheard the gentleman she was talking to is in one of the guys that goes out on the oil rigs out into the Gulf of Mexico. Okay. And drills the oil for the oil. So it was an interesting dichotomy.
Maybe she's nervous. She's a talker when she's nervous in the plane, right?
Yeah. It was fine. Like I said, it wasn't annoying.
It wasn't you, so you were okay with it.
All right. That was this week's podcast for potentially this week's first episode of the podcast. There might be a second episode. Happy homecoming, everyone. I forgot to ask one question, but I'm going to do it now. Do you think they show the James Franklin, Langhorne, Pennsylvania head coach?
Yes. It's the publisher starting, and yes. Do you think they don't show the Drew Aller starting quarterback, Medina, Ohio?
I don't think I think the coach part gets left out somehow. I think because it's at the end. It's just they might. I don't think and we talked about the tweet.
Well, now I need you to get in there soon enough to find out.
Yeah, well, trust me, it's the main story on Saturday. The tweet was interesting because the tweet was different, and I thought that was noticeable.
Yep.
Thought that was noticeable.
Yep.
But he still.
And I'll give him that. But he still sent it, and it was everyone together.
Still showed up.
Still want to know, and still whatever.
I think that's kind of what made Portman's question so weird was that he forgot to do like the thing he always does. Is like, oh, this coach, I know him from my days, blah, blah, blah. And yeah.
No, I think he was on task to try to, it's interesting. They went to the Mondays, whatever, to get it away and get it behind him. And it wasn't executed well this week.
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
We'll see.
Much like the football game. Okay. There you go. Hopefully that was a dose of optimism that you needed here on your Tuesday. Name of the podcast, we've already done that. Website is called stuffsummersays.com. On that website, there's a section called With
Steve.
We have emails. Mine's Darian at stuffsummersays.com. Steve's is
Steve at stuffsummersays.com.
Perfect. 5 stars, thumbs up. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate everyone listening and hanging out and dealing with us. Your favorite hyper niche Penn State sports media blog podcast thing about sports business and news and stuff. We got to really work on our slogan. That's what I'm learning here. Lastly,
want to
know. God, unrivaled. Lastly, we are unrivaled. That's for sure. Lastly, you can find me on the internet at Stuff Summer Says. You can find Steve
at Steve Samsel.
See ya. Bye.